17, I was stacking shelves at a grocery store earning minimum wage. By 21, I built an agency working with businesses across the globe. This isn't some theoretical business model or get-rich-quick scheme. This is the self-made blueprint, the exact framework that transformed my life with zero advantages, no connections, no capital, just a proven system anyone can apply if they're willing to do the work. To introduce myself, I grew up between what felt like two worlds. My mother is American and my father is Lebanese. They divorced when I was quite young, and money was quite scarce for my mom working multiple jobs, sometimes even having to sell her blood for extra cash just to keep some food on the table. Well, I still saw my father growing up, but I lived mostly with my mom. We moved constantly, never really settling anywhere long enough to really build some stability. But growing up, my dad was very strict, and with his strict rules, it isolated me from most kids my age. The constant tension at home and troubled life at school, along with being an only child, unfortunately taught me to read people, navigate complex situations, and rely on myself. These weren't lessons I asked for, but they became advantages later. By high school, I was consuming lots of self-development books like 48 Laws of Power, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I studied successful people online, absorbing their strategies and mindsets while the other kids at my school were focused on weekend parties and short-term fun. At a country club that I worked at during high school, I studied wealthy people, how they carried themselves, built relationships, and discussed opportunities. I remembered one regular who came and tipped me $100 after I remembered details about his grandchildren from a conversation we had like maybe weeks ago. But that showed me the power of human connection in business, something no one in school is teaching. These early experiences weren't random. They were building the foundation for what I would create later. But to turn this foundation into something real, I needed to make decisions that would separate me from everyone else my age. So what does this have to do with the self-made blueprint? Well, the self-made blueprint began with three fundamental decisions that created immediate separation between my results and everyone else's. First, I started trying ideas early. Between 16 to 18, I tried everything: stock trading, crypto, affiliate marketing, drop shipping, Amazon FBA. I attempted to even sell espresso makers and moon bracelets online. I failed at all of them. I still laugh about it from time to time when I even ordered 200 moon bracelets from AliExpress and they arrived in complete shambles. They didn't make it. But, it was a lesson. But these failures weren't from a lack of effort. They failed because they required resources that I didn't have as a beginner, like most of you now. Capital, connections, and experience. This taught me the critical principles of matching your business model to your current resources. Most people try to force models that don't fit their current situation. That's why I built an agency. It requires minimal startup capital, practically zero cost, but leverages the one thing, especially that I had at the time, to develop marketable skills. For someone in my position, it was the only optimal vehicle. Second is that I rejected the traditional college path. While everyone went into debt for degrees, I analyzed the ROI and saw successful people building businesses without them. This wasn't anti-education, it was about return on investment. 4 years and 6 figures of debt made no sense when I could build real-world skills and income streams instead. On top of that, I couldn't really afford to go to college anyways, and I didn't have good grades to get into a decent one. But I knew early on learning profitable skills was going to be my only way to make it. I built a disciplined morning routine. At 6 a.m., I'd wake up, meditate, and then go to the gym. And then after, I would listen to audiobooks. I even wrote affirmations and recorded them to reprogram my mindset while I was sleeping. When my friends were out partying, I was building. When they were sleeping, I was learning. These weren't casual choices. They were strategic decisions that I created with initial advantages that compound to this day. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm saying that you have to wake up at 6 a.m. and do all these fancy things to make money or whatever. But the lesson is forcing yourself outside your comfort zone and sticking to a routine that builds discipline and getting used to doing things that you wouldn't normally do on a regular basis. But with all that being said, now it's time to break down the principles of the self-made blueprint. Starting with principle 1, self-education dominance. This is because traditional education teaches you to follow directions, whereas self-education teaches you to create directions. Every successful self-made person masters teaching themselves what they need to know. When I read How to Win Friends and Influence People at 17, I immediately applied the techniques with customers at the country club. I practiced remembering names, asking questions, and showing genuine interest. Within weeks, my tips increased. And with all that extra money, I was able to teach myself how to invest in crypto and stocks early on. The point is that knowledge without application is worthless. The market rewards implementation, not information. Next is principle 2, which is skill stacking. Anyone relying on a single source of income in today's economy is taking unnecessary risks. The wealthy build multiple income streams in a specific sequence. This requires learning multiple skills. Most of you out there still think if you master one thing, you will get rich or become wealthy. But in today's world, it is completely opposite. My skill stacking journey started with minimum wage jobs that provided stability, and then I progressed to freelance work, which increased my income while teaching me client communication and management. This evolved into an agency model, which allowed me to scale beyond trading time for money directly. Each level builds on the skill and capital from the previous one. The strategy isn't jumping straight to the highest earning model. It's stacking skill sources strategically as your resources expand. Which then leads me to principle number 3, relationship arbitrage. Since business success isn't primarily about what you know, it's about who you know and how much value you can provide them. Without existing connections, I created my own relationship advantage. I identified underserved niches where I then could deliver disproportionate value compared to established competitors. With my first client, I charged $1,000 but delivered $5,000 worth of work. That single relationship has now generated me over $10,000 in business referrals. I remember spending 3 entire days creating a comprehensive marketing audit for a potential insurance client through Loom, and they were shocked by the depth of analysis along with my solutions that they signed within 24 hours of receiving it. They've since referred me 4 other businesses since I was willing to put the time and energy in providing value first. And so the relationship arbitrage means going deeper with fewer connections rather than building a massive network of shallow relationships. Because one strong relationship with the right person will outperform hundreds of weak connections. Like building a niche personal brand where you attract higher quality viewers who are more willing to buy your product or service than just trying to make entertaining videos. And one of the biggest skills in the world moving forward is knowing how to build relationships as more and more people become self-interested and detached. And so this leads me to the blueprint principle 4, reality-based confidence. This is the understanding that true confidence doesn't come from affirmations or mindset tricks. It comes from proven ability. When I started reaching out to potential clients through DMs, cold email, cold calling, I didn't try to feel confident. I focused on becoming genuinely competent at delivering results. Each small win built evidence that justified my confidence. I wasn't trying to fake it. I was proving it through results. For your early clients and prospects, you need to be completely transparent. When I wasn't sure about something, I would say, I'm not certain about this approach, but here's something that I think will work. And if it didn't perform as expected, we'll just pivot immediately. Or I would say, I don't have any proof to show you or testimonials, but I am dedicated to get you the results. And if it doesn't work, I'm happy to split ways and refund you the money. Now, that transparency built trust faster than any sales technique would, because trying to get them to buy without trusting you is just a disaster. Trust comes from competence and action, not projection and hype. And finally, blueprint principle number 5, compounding identity. Since most people focus entirely on tactics and fancy routines, the real game changer is identity, the who. When I struggled with consistency, I stopped trying to force myself to do more, and instead I focused on becoming the type of person that never misses. Trust me, there is a difference. When you're tempted to cut corners, focus on being the kind of businessman that your mother would be proud of. This isn't some abstract philosophy. This is practical psychology. When you shift from forcing behaviors to embodying an identity, consistency becomes natural since it's a part of your identity and not something you're battling against. So with all that being said, here's how these principles came together. After struggling 6 months trying to start an ad agency in New York when I turned 18, I went to France, which was supposed to be a summer visit, but became a 3-year adventure so far. I pivoted to building a creative and branding agency. Since I've always liked making content, you can even go back to my YouTube channel and see older videos of me trying to making vlogs, but it took one thing away from me that was really important, my time. And after many months of trying different offers and ideas, I've recently found traction with my marketing and SaaS agency, MediaFlow, where I help businesses install marketing systems, which has gotten incredibly easy since AI. And I kept applying these blueprint principles, refining my approach, and I was able to build momentum. My journey wasn't easy or fast. I've been learning about different businesses since I was 16, and I'm turning 22 soon. I've made countless of mistakes, but each setback has allowed me to refine the blueprint that I'm sharing with you today. And if there's one thing I want you to understand that I had to realize along my journey, is that your current situation is not your final destination. It's just your starting point. The question isn't whether you have advantages or disadvantages. The question is, what are you going to do with what you have right now? This self-made blueprint transformed me from minimum wage worker to agency owner by 21. While I'm still early in my journey, these principles can help you build your own path faster than figuring it out alone. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I've developed a framework that I believe will consistently produce results when applied correctly. And if this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.